Hello, everybody. It's Chloe for this one verse here, and today I'm going to be doing the Abbott Elementary tag. This wonderful tag was created by Vina of Miss WC Reader in honor of the sitcom Abbott Elementary, created by Quinta B. I only know her as Quinta B. Um, and I unfortunately haven't seen the show yet. I keep hearing great things. I hear it's really funny. I hear it's like very relatable for teachers, especially. But I haven't gotten around to watching it. I've only seen the clips and like the gifs and the memes and stuff. So I do need to watch it at some point. But I thought this was a great idea for a tag. Vina always makes. I think Vina's very savvy. She makes very interesting content, very fun content, and I love the idea for this tag. Um, and I was very happy that she tagged me because it's a lot of fun for the questions. I'm going to be doing something a little different this time around. I'm doing this live just because I don't feel like dealing with editing, but I usually make the very half-assed effort of like holding up my phone with the cover on it when I talk about the book, and I'm just going to screen share. And I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner because it makes so much more sense than what I was trying to do. I'm just not tech savvy, I guess. So, all that preface out of the way, let's get into the questions. So, the first question is Pilot, one of the first books you read in elementary school or primary school or the equivalent. So, this was like actually really hard because my memory is just like, it's not what it used to be for sure. Like, I could remember a lot of books that I read at that time, but I could not remember very many books I actually read like in school. But for some reason, I remembered this book, The Three Little Javelinas. Like I think I read this in like maybe first grade. Like at the time, I think I was reading above my age level, and so the school kind of gave me like separate assignments. And I feel like I had to do a book report on this book, but also like it's a picture book. Like I feel like that's kind of like at the reading level you would be at in first grade. I don't know. I haven't been in first grade in a while. I haven't talked to a first grader in a while or a teacher who teaches first grade. So I really don't know. But like, I feel like the math is not mathing in my head. So like, I feel like I read this in first grade, but I could just be making this up. And I honestly don't even know how I remembered the book because I don't remember a thing about what it's about. I just very distinctly remembered a cover with like these three hairy pigs on it. I remembered that like I think it was set in Mexico. So I cannot tell you anything about this book other than this is the first one I remember like reading in school. Um, so that was the first question, Pilot. And then the next question is New Tech, a book series you discovered at a school book fair. Also, like, I forgot to give this disclaimer. In general, this is my channel dedicated to science fiction and fantasy by Black authors, and I generally only really discuss books by Black authors on this channel. But since the questions for this tag are more just like about like what I read, like especially at an age where I was not like exclusively reading Black authors, that's just not going to be the case for this video. So, yeah, just fun facts, I guess. So, the next one was New Tech, book series you discovered at a book fair, and that would be Maximum Ride by James Patterson. It's funny because like I never finished the series, but I was like very attached to it. Like I really do not remember what happened after the second book of the series. I don't know if my library just stopped stocking them or what, but like I didn't really read that many of them because I think it's like 5 or more books in this series. But this is like YA. It's about these kids who are like basically government experiments. They're kind of like genetic splices of humans and other things, and in particular, humans and birds. So they can fly, they have very light bones. They're also supposed to be like super strong because it's like they're government soldiers and such and such. And it's about them. Um, they were like hidden away by like a government agent who was kind of like, this isn't right, like I don't agree with it. And then one day their house is raided and it's about them trying to find each other and like figuring out what to do next and them on the run. And yeah, I remember I don't really remember the book trailer for this one, but I really only heard of it because of the book fair, and that was the main reason I picked it up, and I liked it a lot. Maximum Ride, the main character, is very snarky, and I was a very snarky kid, so I was like, "This is great. This is for me." Um, and I was also like, "Ooh, I like the gritty stuff. The gritty stuff's real, real. It makes me feel like a grown up reading the gritty stuff." So I like this series as well because it is a little bit on the grim side. Like I remember like kids' bones getting broken, like human experimentation on children. I think it was a little bit darker than maybe some of the or I should say more grim maybe than some of the other books that were like popular with like girls in my age range. So that was one that I enjoyed. Um Next one is I'm sorry, it's there's gonna be a little bit of a transition as I like shuffle through the whole process for sharing different tabs on my computer. The next prompt is step class, book with protagonist on a school team, sports or academic. And honestly, I was like, I actually don't think I've read, at least I don't remember any like sports books. Like that just wasn't my thing. Like I really was not big on the sports books. Especially because I wasn't good at sports in school. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we get you're real athletic, you're real cool." I don't get what's that meme? "I don't care if good things happen to you because they should have happened to me instead." That's kinda how I felt about that in, like, middle school. So, I actually couldn't remember any books. And then I was like, "Oh, like, at last year's Black SF Epathon, we read The Forgotten Girl by Indy Hill Brown, and actually the main character was on the STEP team. She created it, she was the president, she was running it, doing big things. So, yeah, I forgot about this one. The premise for this book, it's a middle grade. It's about this girl who's in middle school and she just kind of feels like forgotten and left behind in a lot of ways. Like she has a younger sister who she feels like is getting all the attention in the family. At school she feels like her like contribute well she doesn't feel like it, her contributions are actively being erased. Like she is not invited. She created this step team, right? And they actually are doing like pretty well, and she's like not invited to talk about it on the school news or anything. Even when other like teams are being featured, they're like kind of like getting edited out of like yearbook photos and stuff, and all this like really petty stuff. Like why would you do this to a young girl? Like makes no sense. I mean the answer is racism in this case, but still no sense. um and one day she is enjoying a snow day and she finds stumbles onto like an unmarked graveyard and finds the spirit of a girl who also was forgotten in her life. And it's about this what this spirit wants and like the main protagonist Iris, her relationship with the spirit. So yep, she was on step team, she was running the step team. Pretty great stuff. So the next prompt is student transfer, book with a protagonist that's new either to their town, job, or school. And for that, I thought of MFK by Nyla Magruder. This is a graphic novel, and Nyla Magruder wrote it and also illustrated it. And I'm pulling up the cover right now. It's really unfortunate because I really liked this book, but I think it was initially supposed to be part of a series, and I think it got discontinued because it came out, I wanna say, like, 5 or some years ago at this point, and I haven't heard anything about a sequel, so that is kinda disappointing. But the premise is that there's this girl who you see on the cover who's just kinda, like, wandering through the desert. She's deaf or hard of hearing. She uses a hearing aid, and she has this kind of, like, large, like, biped bird companion who she uses for like travel and like like lugging things through the desert. And one she's I think it's been a while since I read it, but she's looking for her mom, I think, and she like kind of stumbles out of town at the beginning of the book while she's trying to find clues about like what happened to her mom. And also there's like magic powers in this world, and she has some power that like it doesn't really make sense for her to have, and so trying to get to the bottom of that. Um, I really just liked the art in this book. Like, I really liked how the fight scenes were drawn out. They were very tense. I also thought the art was very creative. Like I mentioned earlier, that the main character has a hearing aid, and I really liked how the author and slash artist, I like really liked how Magruder incorporated that into the art. So like how they did the sounds, how they like when the character doesn't have her hearing aid versus like when she puts it in versus when it starts malfunctioning, stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. Because I hadn't seen that done before. I thought it was like a really good use of the comics medium. Um, so I really enjoyed this book, and I'm sad that it did not get a sequel, to my knowledge. So, next prompt is gifted program, a book you read for school and hated. And honestly, that was kind of hard to answer because, like, one, I do not remember a lot of the books I read in school. I don't know why that is. And also, like, I was just like a very easy come, easy go type of reader. Like, I was just kind of like, it's a book. Like, I don't have thoughts on it outside of it's a book. Um, but I do remember being so annoyed by A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway because this book is written without any quotation marks. So like people will speak and there aren't a whole lot of speaker tags either. So people will speak and you're kind of like, who's speaking right now? What's going on? Blah blah blah. Like it's a stylistic choice and whatnot, but like I was not feeling it. Like I think I got along like all right in the book, but I was like, this is a lot of work for like a story that is like very I'm not too invested in. This one was about a soldier in one of the world wars. I think it was World War One. And it's about his like romance with this nurse. Hey and Jerry, thanks for stopping by. It's about his this romance with this nurse, and like I don't think it's supposed to be a romance that you really like. It's not a romance book. Like I don't think you're supposed to like read this and think like, wow, this relationship is great because it's like not like it's not terrible, but it's also like I don't know. I was like, I don't like this man and I don't want good things to happen to him. Um and I mean, I guess good for me because good things don't end up happening to him. But I just remember being like checked out and like not feeling the style and stuff. And so I didn't care for this book. I don't know if I read anything else by Hemingway in school. I feel like I must have. Um, Actually, no, I don't think I did. I know like some other people in my grade had to read Old Man and the Sea, which I actually think I might have liked if I had to read it, but like I just never had to read it for whatever reason. So that was that. Apologies if there's background noise. The insulation in my house does not insulate like it should. Um, so next prompt is open house any book from your personal library. And that I'm gonna say An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. I mean, I just really like this book. I love the main character Aster. This is a book about a dystopian future, excuse me, where people are in space, but like slavery in space, basically. And there's a lot of like religious justification for slavery and it just like really parallels actual events in US history. And it's about this woman person, Aster, who is enslaved and her mother committed suicide shortly after she was born, and it's about Aster kind of finds some clues um and as to why her mom might have killed herself. It's about her trying to figure out what's going on with her mom, what's going on with like the ship that they're all living in. Because there's signs that like maybe it's malfunctioning, maybe something's going on. And I just loved Aster as a main character. I was very protective of her for one because she really has trouble with social cues and like she lives in a world where like she's supposed to like kowtow and like fulfill the whims of the white people on the ship. And like, one, she doesn't want to do that. And two, like, even if she wanted to, it's like very difficult for her to do. Like, she doesn't realize sometimes that she's getting into trouble until it's like too late. Um, and also, I loved her determination and I loved her. Hey, Erica. Thanks for stopping by. I loved her. Hmm. She was just so unapologetic about the things that she wanted and like how she felt about things. I think often um Black people especially who encounter racism in their lives are kind of told that they're supposed to like turn the other cheek or like make a big show of forgiveness because like maybe that will get sympathy or it's the right thing to do. And like Aster just doesn't want to do that. She's like, these people have hurt me and I hate them. I don't wish them well. And I appreciate that. I think that was very cathartic for me to read. Um, and what else did I like about this book? Um, I said woman person because Aster might be gender nonconforming. She might be non-binary. Um, but just because of the like language in this world, I don't think their labels for gender or sexuality really neatly map onto ours. So it's not something that's ever explicitly said. But I just really liked how the book made me think about that. And I guess just the tenderness that Aster has for people as well. She is like a medic, and so there are people that she tends who are sick. She has a friend Giselle who has like a lot of mental she has like some sort of mental illness, but also just like traumatized from the life she's leading as someone who's a slave on this ship. Um, and there are ways that like Giselle really hurts Aster and puts herself in danger. And Aster is like, just like, I'm not leaving you. Like, I won't leave you behind. Like, I'm going to keep caring for you no matter what you do. Um, which I thought was very sweet and was very endearing for me. Um, And yeah, I liked watching her navigate romance. There's just so many things I liked about the main character, Aster. So that's why I chose to talk about that one. And then last but not least, there is wish list, tag an anticipated read. And that would be Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding by Tricia C. Higgins. Um, I had read an erotica book by Tricia C. Higgins, Constellation Gifts, that I've mentioned in my last live, and I wanted to read a romance from her. And she wrote a Black Sapphic romance sometime in the last year, and so I was very excited when it was released. Um, I don't really know the premise for it. I know it involves fake dating, and I'm gonna see if this will like warm me up to the trope because the first fake dating book I read was Sips of Her by, I think it's Carmen Lee. And I wasn't really feeling it, but we'll see if like this one sells me on it. Um, and it just like looks like it's gonna like touch on a lot of things that I don't know enough about to know if it's gonna touch on a lot of things I like. I'm just like, it's a Black Sapphic romance. Like I'm gonna read it. And I've been like, it's been in my like cart on like various used book websites, and I was in the city. I think it was actually this past Tuesday, and I was in Giovanni's Books, which is like a bookstore. I think there's a focus on like queer books, but also just in general, I think profits go to like um gosh. I thought there was some like support group for people with HIV in Philly that profits go to support. So like they sell other stuff too. And I had just kind of like gone in there with a friend on a whim, and I was like, had found one book, King of the Rising by Case and Calendar. I was going to check out to get it. And then I was like at the checkout counter, and I like turned my head and I see the book on the display, this one, Devon and Chris. I just like snatched it. I was like, can I add this to my order too? Very lucky, very coincidental. So I'm looking forward to reading this sometime soon. So that was the tag. Thank you everyone for coming out. I tag Mel of Curly Top Reads and Emma Ray of Emma Ray Empowered. So I will alert them either via YouTube or Twitter that they've been tagged. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care and have a good one. Goodbye.